35 years. That was the time the United States needed to create a bomber that makes the B-2 Spirit look like a relic of the past. The new B-21 Raider has a radar footprint so minimal that it's like looking for a needle in a haystack, and the incredible part, it costs only a fraction of what the B-2 did with triple the technology. The B-2 could only hide from the front. The B-21 disappears from any angle. While China and Russia spend fortunes on radars and missiles, the United States has just rendered all those systems useless. The Raider is not a simple update. It's the result of 35 years of lessons and an aircraft designed down to the millimeter by artificial intelligence to be invisible. The B-2 reigned for decades, but now the throne has a new owner. While others obsessed over building bigger weapons, American engineers were silently constructing something no one will ever detect. And that's why, in this video, you'll see how the United States created the most advanced bomber on the planet, a ghost in the skies that will change the future of aerial warfare. If you believe the United States still leads the world in military technology, leave it in the comments. The B-2 Spirit was considered a masterpiece when it first soared through the skies in 1989. Its design broke all known standards, a plane that seemed to vanish from enemy radar. But there was a catch. That invisibility worked mainly when attacking head-on, not from the sides or the rear. And modern warfare is not fought in straight corridors, but in scenarios where radars surround targets, operate on different frequencies, and coordinate multiple sensors connected to supercomputers. The result? The B-2, though revolutionary in its time, began to show cracks. And here's where it gets interesting. What seemed perfect was not enough for the 21st century. And if you thought the B-2 was untouchable, wait until you see how the B-21 makes it look ridiculous. The B-21 Raider is the direct answer to those limitations. It doesn't settle for being invisible from the front. It's invisible from all angles, what engineers call 360-degree stealth. It doesn't matter how, where, or with what frequency you try to detect it. The plane doesn't appear on the screen. Every surface, every curve of this bomber was calculated with next-generation supercomputers. Artificial intelligence not only designed its shape, but also optimized how radar waves bounce off to vanish into nothingness. It's a ghost that silently moves above any air defense, and that means no matter how much money adversaries invest in improving their radars, the B-21 will always be one step ahead. This is where the comparison becomes brutal. The B-2 had a radar signature similar to that of a small bird. Impressive, right? The B-21 takes that to the extreme. Its radar signature resembles that of a mosquito. Yes, a mosquito! Now imagine being in your backyard at night with a flashlight trying to follow the flight of a mosquito. Impossible, right? That is exactly what enemy radar operators will feel when the B-21 is flying over their airspace. They won't see anything, and if they do pick something up, it will be so faint and unstable they won't be able to react in time. We're talking about a giant bomber that, technologically, camouflages itself as if it were a tiny insect. That's the true revolution. The B-2 Spirit is a giant with a wingspan of 52 meters. The B-21, on the other hand, measures around 40. At first glance, one might think, why build something smaller? But in aerial warfare, bigger doesn't always mean better. In fact, with stealth aircraft, every additional meter increases the risk of being detected. Engineers knew that reducing its size would make it harder for enemy radar to find, while also giving it incredible flexibility in combat. It can access smaller bases, fly more complex routes, and most importantly, remain invisible. It's not a downgrade, it's a strategy designed to win. And listen, because even though it carries fewer weapons, the B-21 deals more damage than the B-2. Let me explain why. The B-2 could carry up to 18 tons of weapons, while the B-21 carries about 9. At first glance, this seems like a disadvantage, until you understand the shift in weapons technology. Today, every smart bomb has surgical precision. It can strike within inches of its target. What once required a rain of explosives can now be achieved with a single hit. It's the difference between using a sledgehammer to break a lock or a perfectly crafted key. The B-21 doesn't need to carry dozens of weapons. Each one it does carry has multiplied power, and that makes it a machine of lethal efficiency. The reduced size not only affects invisibility, it also changes the rules of the game operationally. The B-21 can take off from shorter runways, which means it doesn't depend solely on large bases known to the enemy. It can land at more airfields, disperse its presence, and be more unpredictable. It also requires less maintenance between missions, which speeds up its availability. And here's the knockout punch. It costs far less to operate. All this gives the United States an unprecedented global deployment capacity, with a bomber that can be anywhere in the world within hours. The B-2 was born in a world where the Soviet Union still existed, the internet was barely an academic luxury, and cell phones were bricks that barely made calls. The B-21, on the other hand, is a direct child of artificial intelligence, advanced material science, and the quantum era. That means its design, construction, and operation have nothing to do with the methods of the 80s. What was the future for the B-2 as ancient history for the B-21? It's like comparing a landline to a smartphone. They serve the same function, but one is limited by its era and the other redefines what it means to be connected. And if you're wondering how that leap was achieved, you'll understand once you see its design process. Before getting into the technical part, I need to ask you something important. More than 98% of people who watch this kind of content are not subscribed. It's incredible because it costs nothing and really helps us keep researching and producing stories like this. So, if everything you've just learned about the B-21 has amazed you, take a quick pause, click that red subscribe button, and come back with me. Don't worry, the best is yet to come, and I promise what's next will blow your mind. The B-2 was designed with traditional methods, paper blueprints, physical models, wind tunnels, and test prototypes. Brilliant for its time, but limited by the technology of the 80s. The B-21, on the other hand, was created in a fully digital environment. It used electromagnetic modeling, computational simulations, and artificial intelligence algorithms that ran millions of different scenarios. Every angle, every surface, and even every bolt was calculated to minimize its radar signature, its thermal footprint, and even its acoustic noise. Nothing was left to chance. It's as if they assembled a perfect puzzle where every piece makes the aircraft more invisible. And if the design is incredible, wait until you hear about the materials that make it practically undetectable. The B-2 used radar-absorbing coatings that were the peak of science in the 80s. They worked, but they had three major problems. They were heavy, extremely expensive, and required constant maintenance. Its famous midnight black finish had to be reapplied in special climate-controlled hangars, which made the B-2 as demanding as it was powerful. The B-21 breaks that model. It's built with composite materials that are naturally stealthy, coated with embedded multifunctional layers that absorb radar waves in a much lighter and more durable way. The curious thing is that visually it looks brighter than the B-2 because it no longer needs that black paint to be invisible. Its invisibility comes from its very skin. The B-2 program was a financial disaster. The Air Force planned to build 132 units, but only 21 rolled out. The result? Each aircraft cost about $2.2 billion, more than the entire military budgets of some countries. The B-21 learned from that mistake. Its average cost is estimated at $692 million, less than a third. And most importantly, there will be at least 100 units. That means development costs are spread out, production becomes sustainable, and the U.S. can have a complete fleet instead of a tiny elite. In addition, modern techniques like 3D printing, digital tools, and advanced manufacturing processes reduce time and defects. To give you an idea, what used to change 20% between design and production now changes only 1%. Total efficiency. The B-2 was created as a nuclear bomber intended for the Cold War. The B-21 is something completely different. It is optionally manned, meaning it can fly with a pilot or completely autonomously with artificial intelligence. In addition, it can act as an airborne command center, coordinating satellites, ground troops, and even combat drones that function as invisible escorts. Imagine this: a single raider leading a swarm of drones that scout, jam enemy radars, or even sacrifice themselves to protect it. We're not talking about just another bomber. We're talking about a complete aerial battle system designed for the 21st century. Although its maximum payload is smaller than that of the B-20, the B-21's weapons are exponentially more powerful. It can carry precision-guided bombs capable of striking with surgical accuracy, long-range missiles that destroy targets hundreds of kilometers away without entering enemy airspace. And for the hardest targets, it can load the massive 13-ton penetrator capable of destroying bunkers buried hundreds of meters underground. And let's not forget its nuclear role. With bombs like the B-61 and B-83, plus the new long-range nuclear cruise missile, the B-21 ensures that no target on Earth is out of reach. It is the perfect arsenal to deter any enemy. The B-2 was limited to 1980s technology. To upgrade it, it had to be almost completely modified. The B-21 is the opposite. It was created with open architecture, which means it can receive software and hardware upgrades without rebuilding the plane. As artificial intelligence advances, as directed energy weapons or new quantum technologies emerge, the B-21 will be able to integrate them seamlessly. It is a bomber designed not only for today's war, but also for the wars of 20 or 30 years from now. It is, literally, the first bomber designed to evolve. The first flight of the B-21 was on November 10, 2023, from Palmdale to Edwards Air Force Base. By 2025, there were already prototypes in testing, and the program entered initial production. The Air Force plans for the first operational squadron to be ready by the early 2030s, a very fast pace for such an advanced aircraft. And here's the key. Unlike the B-2, which required special climate-controlled hangars, the B-21 can operate from standard facilities. That means the United States will not only have more aircraft, but it will be able to deploy them from more locations around the world, increasing its unpredictability. And now we move on to what most worries China and Russia, the strategic implications of the RAIDER. China has spent decades building defenses to keep the United States away from its territory. Radars, S-400 missiles, advanced fighters. Russia has done the same with its S-500 systems. But there's a problem. None of that works against something you can't see. The B-21 turns all those investments into little more than scrap. No advanced radar can detect something with such a small radar signature. No missile can intercept a target that never appears on the screen. This is what strategists call deterrence through strength. The simple knowledge that the United States can strike at any time makes enemies think twice before acting. And to close, let's see why the B-21 is not only better than the B-2, but turns it into history. The B-2 Spirit was a legendary aircraft, the technological jewel of the Cold War and the ghost that no radar could catch. For decades, it was the symbol of American air supremacy. But that world has already changed, and today's threats require something more. That's where the B-21 Raider comes in, the result of 35 years of experience and learning, a bomber 3 times more capable, costing a third, operating from more bases, and prepared for missions the B-2 could never have imagined. Every time a Raider takes off, it sends a clear message to the world. The United States continues to lead military innovation. Its allies can rely on its protection, and its enemies know they have no way to stop it. It is peace through strength, a reminder that air superiority remains guaranteed. But beyond the military, the B-21 is also a symbol of what it means to bet on innovation and the future. It is proof that investing in science, technology, and engineering not only creates incredible machines, but also security, confidence, and national pride. And now I want to hear from you. What do you think of the B-21 Raider? Do you believe this bomber confirms that the United States is still above everyone else in military technology? Leave it in the comments. And if this video surprised you, subscribe. With just one click, you help us continue bringing these stories that show how technology is changing the future of war. The era of the B-2 made history. The era of the B-21 Raider has just begun.